What's up, everybody? My name is Tyler Stans, and this is what's playing tonight. Now, I have been, shall we say, suggested to watch The Witcher several times. Of course, I'm talking about the Netflix original series The Witcher, starring Henry Cavill. And it's not that I haven't been reluctant to watch it, I just haven't gotten around to it. But that all ends today because we're going to start with 2 episodes per video, starting with episode 1 and 2 of the first season of The Witcher. And then next week we'll do episode 3 and 4 and so on and so on. And then eventually we'll get to that animated movie. But until then, we're starting with 1 and 2. So why don't I go watch that real quick? 2 hours later. And I'm back. After watching the first 2 episodes of The Witcher, well, here are my thoughts. The first episode, The End's Beginning. Man, they really just start knocking it out of the park right at the beginning. We got a really cool action sequence where Geralt, our main character, the Witcher, if you will, does battle with a monster called a Kikimora. It's basically really ugly monster. It's got a lot of arms, very frightening. And then he, of course, takes the carcass of the monster to try and get someone to pay him for his work. You see, a Witcher is a monster hunter for money. That's something I can get behind. Meanwhile, over in the kingdom of Cintra, we're introduced to a royal family, a king and a queen and the princess, Cirilla. Now, my only experience with the Witcher series thus far is the admittedly short time that I put into The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt. Nothing against the game, it's just I have this thing where I tend to start a game and then never finish it. But that's neither here nor there. So Cirilla is a name that I recognize, and her kingdom is being conquered by another name I recognize, the southern neighbor of Nilfgaard, another name that I'm pretty sure came up when I was playing the game. So she escapes, her whole family is destroyed, it's awful. And that seems like the more plot-heavy part of the episode. Back in Blaviken, which is the town that Geralt is kind of hanging out in, he gets into a situation where 2 people want them to kill the other person, and he doesn't want to do any of that because he's a Witcher. He only kills monsters. Well, as it turns out, he kind of has to kill one of them anyway. And this is where he earns his nickname, the Butcher of Blaviken, in a pretty kick-ass fight scene, if I do say so myself. I enjoyed the action in this episode. I really like the atmosphere of the show that they've created so far. So that was episode 1. Let's get on down to episode 2, 4 Marks. In this episode, we're introduced to a third thread to follow in addition to Geralt and Cirilla. And that third thread is a girl named Yennefer. Another name I recognize. Maybe I should go back and play that game after I've finished this series. And Yennefer is kind of I'll tell you what, I'm just going to use what they say on Wikipedia because I don't want to offend anybody. A hunchback. And she is sold to a master sorceress lady for 4 marks, which is what the name of the episode. It's kind of sad because the father wanted 10 marks for a pig, but he sold his daughter for 4 marks. Oh well. And she goes with this lady, Tisaya. These names are going to be fun to pronounce, to learn magic. Meanwhile, Geralt is hired to investigate some grain thefts in a place called Posada, where he runs into this bard who I'm assuming I thought might be the guy from the game Dandelion, but I'm not sure. It says Jaskier the Bard. Oh well. And that it's a fun little buddy cop encounter where they go to investigate a monster. It's not quite what you think it's going to be. It turns out there's not really a monster. It's just some elves hiding out. And boy, these 2 episodes have done quite a bit of world building. In most fantasy settings, I would say that the elves kind of run things. They're usually the big people in charge, but in The Witcher, they're on the verge of extinction, endangered species, because humans, maybe even more realistically than most fantasy, humans did what humans did and betrayed them, hunted them down to extinction. Is awful. So they're able to talk things through, and the Bard and Geralt end up being okay. Meanwhile, we got to check back in with Cirilla. She is on the run, and she's encounters a boy in the wood who we learn is named Dara, or Dara. I'll get better with the names as the longer this goes on and the more that I watch. But the boy guides Cirilla to a refugee camp where she spends time with the family, and we find out that maybe these refugees, they're all from Cintra. And we find out that maybe the people of Cintra are not necessarily happy with the royals and how all that stuff went down. I'm sure we'll find out more about that later. Episode 2, also solid. More good world building, more good atmosphere. I'm really eager to jump back into the series, and we'll talk about episodes 3 and 4 next week. Until then, you guys have a great rest of your day. If you like the video, consider giving it a like. If you like me, consider subscribing. And tell me down in the comments below what you think of The Witcher. What do you think of these 2 episodes? What's your favorite Witcher game? I'm sure it's probably Witcher 3. Who's your favorite character? Do you guys think Henry Cavill does a good job? Yeah. Let's talk about all that. I'm Tyler Stans. This has been What's Playing Tonight, and go watch a movie or something, or maybe even a show.